Hello, hello, ahoy, hoy, and welcome to another episode of Off the Mark. Is this episode 30, my dear?
This is 30. The big
Ah!
we did it.
How cool is this? I just realized it right now. Welcome to Off the Mark, episode 30, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Miss Tootie O, and of course, with me as always is my co-host, Miss Meeks Khalid. And boy, have I missed you. This is ridiculous.
It's been a minute.
We've had an amazing spring break, amazing Easter holiday. We hope everybody out there has been safe and has had the same amazingness about them. It feels good. We are in California. We are in bizarro world here. So it's nice to see everything opening up, and it's nice to see everybody going out and doing their own thing. And it's nice to see more and more faces and less masks. So yeah, and wherever you guys are, again, we hope you guys are staying as safe and as healthy as possible and getting all that sun in as much as you can, and exercising daily. If you don't take care of yourself, the government's going to take care of yourself for you, and that's the exact opposite of what we actually want. So today's episode, we're just going to freeball it today. We're just kind of going to go into it. We have some Biden updates, but not really. We're just going to kind of discuss our own feelings, our own sentiments, our own thoughts on what's going on around here, as far as his administration goes, the gun control thing, all of the racial diversity that continues to go on, the George Floyd trial. We're going to touch on that, but we want to do a major, big, fat episode on that pretty soon. We just have been
the anniversary at the end of the trial.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
We'll do a deep dive
to the end of the trial, but let's hope that we're still able to do this at the end of the trial, but let's hope we catch it before all hell breaks loose.
Right.
Because otherwise,
this just in from the basement. We have like our coriander hats and stuff. Colin. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's, I don't know, man. Like, I know you're probably up to speed as much as I am on as far as the news level is concerned and what they're saying about him, but I'm at a loss for the opinion of the American public who voted for him, because they're silent. So there's definitely regret in the air right now. Huge voters' remorse in the air right now.
The elephant in the room that we're not like allowed to talk about. Like
you see it, right? You feel it. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of sad to see, but at the same time, we don't really have every opportunity in the world to sit and sulk about it, because there's so much going on right now. The immigration crisis that's overflowing. I mean, Long Beach now has officially decided that we are going to take in 1,000 migrant children, and they will be housed at the convention center here in Long Beach. There was a protest the other day, a rally rather, I should say, I think Wednesday evening, where they, a bunch of people with signs, abolish ICE, this and that, and as if ICE has anything to do with the treatment of these people. It's not exactly. ICE is probably the ones regulating and actually saving lives when they find these people. Border Patrol agents kind of have it a little bit rough right now, and it's not to sympathize with any type of authority. Their job is to publicly serve. And if you ask me, if they're not doing that job, they should be fired. But these people are, as far as I can tell, have an overwhelming job to do right now. And they're actually, they're doing their job. It's not about, I don't see, I think one of the things that Obama tried to bring in was his catch and release policy, which is what, Biden has reinstated in a sense. But if you ask me, I think catch and release should be catch and take them back to where they come from or where they belong. If they keep coming in here illegally, that's how I interpreted it as, but apparently that's the exact opposite. It's catch and release here. Like, hi, how you doing? We're going to help you out. Here you go. Here's like welfare or whatever the situation is. I don't really know exactly how it works. I just know that it works so much so that the incentive to come here is completely overwhelming right now. And it's just like, it's all hands on deck, and it doesn't seem like it's helping in anything. I mean, there's videos going around of children being abandoned, children crying, no idea where to go. And it's hard to tell if we understand that political theater is a thing. So it's really hard to tell
where the line is.
Yeah. Right. Right. There was a video the other day. I don't know if you saw it. Oh, I'm so glad I mentioned it. So Alex Jones stops a caravan full of migrant children, and he's literally on the hood of the van. Hey, stop right there and doing it. And it's like
I'm picturing him with this little megaphone, like right. It's like
where are you taking these kids? You child trafficking these kids. We need to call the cops and everything else he was doing. And I think it turns out that they were actually being taken to a safer place already. They were actually in a position to where a Catholic church, Catholic church was taking these children into a better position. I don't know exactly what the story was, but that was one of those incidents where I was like, come on. Like Alex Jones is not stopping, with his bare hands, a car full of migrant kids, maybe, but no, probably not. Well, there is those things, that there is those things, but on the other side of that, I mentioned the border agents, was because, there's videos of them trying to resuscitate a child, a toddler from after being found in
oh wow.
It's just it's not enough to see these things and understand that, oh my God, like we have to do something about it, because I'm just one man. What can I do? We're not all Alex Jones, you know what I mean? But it's a sad thing to see where we don't even have the time to mourn and or reflect on this, because we do have these mass shootings, and we have George Floyd, and we have Biden's gun control things, and we have Biden getting sued for this and that, and it's like, where do we start? Where do we start? Where do we stop?
There's definitely a lot of things fighting for our attention right now, as per usual. Well, they're really trying to control and steer the narrative of what's going on with the world and America at large, and controlling, like with kid gloves, the narrative of how this presidency is going and what the legacy of it is going to be. And, it's so hard, like you said, to find like what that line of reality is, because obviously the media is controlled, and so they're going to spin a certain like image of it in a way that's going to have a certain reaction or solution necessary to it. But obviously there are immigrants, and there is the trafficking and all of this going on as well. And kind of like child protective services, like how it can do harm, where like children maybe are being ripped from families unnecessarily, or being placed in with families that don't have the best intentions. But I'm sure there certainly are incidences where it was, for the benefit of the child to have had the opportunity to go through that system and get the care that they needed. So on the one hand, you can't blame the institution for like the isolated incidences and shortcomings of it. Like you said, it is a big job to like maintain the integrity of a border and the fluidity of people that transpose through that. And ultimately what they want from us Americans is not the old American dream that even we as born Americans are sold. It's more of a dependency and reliancy, and that has been more evident in all of their like rulings and solutions and that they've been rolling out. So with this whole catch and release and whatever they are providing to them, it's still creating that dependency. It's still creating that like big brother dynamic for any people. So it's like they don't have an attachment to the integrity of the country as a whole. It's just a matter of having more collateral of people with that type of dominant relationship with being beholden to the government. Right. So
it's basically that you owe us now because you're here. Yeah. And that's absolute power. That's insane.
It's like an indentured servitude, and it's like their MO. It's not a new dynamic for a kingdom or country to have, but we just paint it in all these different kind of colors and categories, so it seems more civilized, these caste systems that we're acting out still.
Right. And it's not it's on top, aside from the immigration thing, and again, I don't. That's probably one of the bigger things that keeps me up at night, simply because of the overwhelming amount of children that are coming in,
Right.
excuse me, unaccompanied.
Mhm.
Uh, less on a lesser form, and not to take away from any victims. It's already been predicted by us and by several other casts and other people who enjoy, or actually, maybe not enjoy it so much, but we sit on the outside looking at. We've already known that the rise in mass shootings was just gonna happen. It was just like, be prepared. Oh, here comes
Right.
Biden. Get ready for mass shootings again. Get ready for this. Get ready for that.
Yeah.
And it's not like we were sitting there predicting it because we're assholes and we know the future. It's just kind of part of the pattern that's just been
Yeah.
happening. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because it's hard to understand what we would consider false flags. And it's hard to even bring that up now, because again, everybody bases everything on emotion so quickly nowadays. George Floyd and the trial included, everything's just so emotion, and everything's just
Yeah.
so, nothing is based on fact anymore. And
or the law or whatever.
Exactly. So the fact remains is that, like, even saying, hey man, we should question this shooting because nothing seems right. Oh, we should question why there's all of a sudden so many popping up here and there. We should question why news stories run the same headline on different states. Mass shootings on the rise in Ohio, mass shootings on the rise in Florida.
Right.
Like, you guys, we can't even ask questions about that. Well, people died and people are hurt and this and that. People die every day. People get hurt every day. You can't cry over every person, place, or thing. And that sounds very insensitive, but the point of that is to be able to sit here and be able to actually still logically understand that maybe things aren't exactly as they seem, and it's okay to think that, without having this idea that now you're an insensitive person and now you don't care about human lives. No, my dear, it's the exact opposite. It's the fact of being able to care for people as a whole, as opposed to just one individual that we want to hold on to, whether they're good people or not. Everybody has their good and their bad. So any loss of life is tragic. It's
Right.
a question whether we're actually losing lives or if these things are power plays. This gun control thing, this guy is stomping on our Second Amendment so hard right now. It's really scary. These buzzwords of ghost gun and the AK and assault rifles and this and that, and it's like they're scary. And first of all, this brush could be an assault weapon. Assault weapons. Right. That's the one. Assault. Anything can be an assault weapon.
This
it's not. It's a whole. If you want to be a bad person, criminals are going to criminal.
Right.
You're not going to stop it, and gun control is not going to stop that. I can't give you the exact number, but I just read something today. Like most mass shootings happen in gun-free zones.
Well, yeah.
I mean, duh. If I wanted to go do that, that's the exact place I would go. It's a place.
You think I'm going to be completely unopposed, or like whoever is willing to go to that ends to still get it in those dynamics. It's like that quote that, like, virtuous people don't need laws to tell them to do the right thing, and disingenuous people are gonna rebel regardless. So.
Gun control laws are not going to change criminals from getting a gun illegally. Right. And illegal guns.
It just drives it further into the black market and into those out of the hands of like everyday citizens and into, organized crime.
Right, exactly. And speaking of organized crime, some of our presidents had their hands in organized crime, letting weapons come in and out of this country illegally. Obama. Yeah, there's others. I'm just saying, but it's not something to laugh about. And again, this podcast is meant for both reasons, to be serious and to have some fun. But and I understand it's not, losing a life is not something at all to laugh about. But we have to be able to discern whether these things that are happening are they really happening? You know, because and the way to figure those things out is the aftermath. You know, there are certain incidents that we take and we run with, and they're the thing of in fact, that hasn't happened in a long time. I think the big one that we've had was the Vegas shooting that we held on to for a while. But since then, they've just been like, all right, what's next? All right, what's next? All right, what's next? I don't think we've had an incident like that aside from the pandemic, I guess. But
yeah, they don't have their own like identity, you know, that's
so much
legacy that's dragged on quite the same anymore. It's
But-
more just about like the shock and awe of it, of just traumatizing people with enough mention of enough shooting for it to seem like it's in it throughout the nation, that, you know, we have a gun problem everywhere because it's popping up in every state. You know, we need some type of like federal, you know, executive order ruling because the statehoods aren't able to manage or maintain, but it's something we're all collectively suffering from.
I love that you said it that way, because that's exactly how it works with everything now that we're fighting against. Oh, look at all these mass shootings, man. We have a real gun problem. Oh, look at all this racial hate, man. America has a racial problem. Well, look at all these people hating on trans people, man. We're all homophobes or whatever. You know, it's always waiting for somebody to be a victim, which we've mentioned before, and shaming people who don't have that victim mentality. You know, regardless of whatever way you want to come about it. But the divide and conquer is real, and the pattern has to be seen at this point, because the way you mentioned, the way they fixed the gun control thing is exactly how they're fixing racism,
right?
And everything else is by taking our words away, taking our defenses away, and then what do we have left? It's funny, what is it? The Second Amendment, or how does it go? The First Amendment is there. No, the Second Amendment is there in case they take the first one away. I think that's the quote or something like that.
Or the first one, if they'll take away the Second Amendment if you don't use the first kind of one. So like we have to speak out on gun control, but there's a reason why of all the amendments that those were the first two that they felt was most important, and the utmost was our freedom of speech and to gather, and those are the ones that have been so vilified unless you're deemed worthy by your COVID pass and vaccine. Then you can be part of society again.
So Biden is getting sued currently by, and I don't remember the lawyer's name because again I didn't do homework on this episode. I just wanted to see you.
We just chat.
But a lawyer is actually trying to sue the Biden administration because he's unconstitutionally signing executive orders to gain more gun control. And I think that's kind of cool. It's not going to go anywhere, but it will stop the orders, which is kind of cool. Right. That is not going to be publicized in any way, shape, or form. That's something we're going to have to dig deep to actually find. It was actually mentioned in passing on a news channel, and then it wasn't. I was just like, oh, cool. You know what I mean? It was just like, oh, cool. You know. So if I get more information, if everybody's interested, I can keep you updated on that. That'd be kind of neat. But yeah, once you throw the Constitution at somebody, they can't throw it back at you. Right. You know, and I think something he said recently, something about amendments aren't absolute or something. I forgot what he said, but it didn't make any sense. The Constitution is absolute, but amendments can be changed, or amendments aren't absolute. He said something of that nature. It's like, huh? What are you talking about? Like, is he hinting that he's going to want things changed? Is he hinting maybe the powers, you know, because, you know, it's not impossible for them to totally eradicate the Constitution. It's not impossible, but that's where we come in. That's where the guns come in. That's where we come in. The Constitution literally says, we the people. It's us. We govern you. We the people. We wrote this to make sure you behave. And we forgot that. We forgot it's us. We the people isn't them. You know what I mean? It's crazy how things have twisted. And even just the last 2 years, like I said, it blows my mind that we've been studying these things for so long. And even just in the hubbub of the mixed laundry that we sat in, even I got confused as to where I actually stood. I thought I was on the right side when it came to assumed that leaders were going to take us into a better direction as far as freedom and liberties are concerned, and keeping up with what the Constitution says. And I was wrong. And it scares me only because like there's so many people who don't study it because one, it's boring. It's not like politics and the government. It's not the most exciting.
It's a very dry read.
Really, exactly. You know, so it's not supposed to be for everybody, and I think it's that way on purpose. You know, we're not really supposed to understand our own history and understand our own our ancestral history at that, and understand how if we can just break those things down and understand the connections, then this racism thing would be obsolete 100%. But we can't even do that. You know,
there's a reason why in the public school education that like you're not turned out being able to recite the Constitution like head to toe.
Right.
Like if we haven't learned that as a society, when you're being released into the general public, then there's evidence that, I mean, the Constitution is basically a tyrant's worst enemy, you know, and by, like you saying, we the people, we've all abdicated our throne by not knowing the Constitution, not asserting our rights. It's kind of like with plagiarism, like you have to claim your ownership of something, otherwise people can copyright you or whatever if you're not standing up for your possession of that. So, or like back in frontiersman times, if you had a plot of land that was abandoned, somebody else could come in for, I forget how many years or whatever, but somebody else could come in and claim it because that was valuable property and assets that weren't being utilized for the sake of the country. So if somebody was going to come in and like till that land and garden and farm on it, you know, better than you have the ownership of it and be like over in Europe or something. So, you know, you could claim it. And that's basically what they've done, is that we've abandoned the land by operating in this maritime commercialism that's getting more and more digitalized into that. And until we reconnect, like claim our throne, our position between like God and country, and our authority within that, and our communal authority with the other sovereigns as we the people, and, you know, dictating them of how these government institutions are going to work. But like you keep saying, they're pulling on our heartstrings and they're emotionalizing it, and all these people turn into a statistic, like how many grandmas died and didn't get to have a funeral during this past year of COVID, but George Floyd got 3, and now we're tuning in for how many weeks this trial is going to go on, you know, day by day, as person by person, instead of stating just the facts of it, you know, like romanticizing the story of it and really painting this as a picture of what America looks like and stands for. You know, they're getting us to deny our senses, where never mind what the world and life is like, you know, health wise, politically wise, like social, you know, cultural climate wise, in your neighborhood, in your like immediate experience. If you keep hearing on the TV, it's saying like there was another gun shooting and there was another hate crime and there was another disparity of this and that, like it paints a picture that outside your little bubble that there's this, you know, hellish world. But if we connect our bubbles through like interpersonal communication more, so we'll get a more authentic picture. And not to say that there isn't like tragedy out there that we might, unbeknownst to us. In fact, that's probably even more to the point that I think we try to like latch on to different causes because we have such savior complexes that we want to believe that we're in control of the negativity and the ills of the world to some extent, like as whether individually or collectively as a whole, like, oh, somebody's on it, like the police are on it, the government's on it, whatever is, you know, unfair about the world. But I think just like we're powerful beyond measure, beyond our imagination. I think like the worst possible thing that's happening in the world, we have no idea like how intense or bad that is, and how we're still accountable to it, that it's still like happening in part because of us and that blind spot that we're having. Right. And I think that's like a really hard pill to swallow, that like there are not just like this character, but an unknown statistic of people in mass that are suffering because of a blind spot that we have.
That's really heavy. That's really heavy. And it's really, really, it's so dark, but it's so true. Um, it's true. It really does take me back to, and it blows me away that it haunts me. The I don't care, do you code.
Yeah, yeah,
It haunts me
yeah.
because again, it, you don't just wear that. That was on
Right.
purpose. Whatever her reasoning was, it was deliberate.
Oh, what? There's cameras today? Like,
Somebody made her, but either way, I don't care, do you, is
right.
is a message and a half. And
Right.
it's just, you think about the Uyghurs and that
Yeah.
situation.
Oh
No,
God.
a lot of people have no damn clue what I'm talking about when I even
Yeah.
mention it. But there's mass genocide happening to people, to human beings, maybe not in this country, in an entirely different universe for all we care. But we should care
Right.
even a little bit, because there's nothing to suggest that couldn't be us. It's happening on this planet. Human beings are dying and suffering, and again in massive ways, where it's actually coming from a leader from the top down. This is something that's happening deliberately, not sickness, not a pandemic, not war. This is way different. And it's scary even more. What's more is that we have this immigration thing happening here in the United States. And I can't help but wonder what the connections are between Biden's inability to condemn what's going on over there and those concentration camps and the immigration camps, facilities that we have here. I'm
Right.
finding it really hard not to find a connection between the two right now. And that scares me more than anything, because that is happening here. That is here. And we still don't see it. That blind spot you're talking about is dangerous.
It's almost like the things that they talk about are the things that are the most nefarious, because um, they know that some things are too big to ignore. So they can't just like outright ignore the border, crisis or these camps. They have to like control the narrative of it and like put on its costume and paint it up nice and like unveil the control when the curtain opens and closes and all where the camera points and all those kinds of things about it. So the fact that they are being that attentive to it shows that there's so much more going on backstage and behind the scenes of it. If it had no impact on us, then they wouldn't control
Right.
how we look at it.
And kind-hearted Puppet Garcia, our very own mayor here, is now deciding with his good heart to take in, migrant children here. It's like, dude, what's the plan? What's going on? And everybody's like, wow, he's a hero. It's like, he's no hero. He can't even take care of the 15 people that got killed on Pacific Avenue, hit and runs in the last 4 or 5 months.
Wow.
And he hasn't said a word about that. All the mass shootings that happen here in Long Beach, and a mass shooting is defined by 3 or more people injured. So it's not to suggest that people passed away here, but there has been tons of shootings. There was a cop shooting the other day. A cop shooting, the man was armed and he had the pistol in his hand, and it's all on video, but even that isn't something that's being acknowledged here. And that's one of those things that you can use for your own benefit if that's the case. So the man is just silent on everything that matters to this city alone, but 100% out in the open about his COVID vaccines and where the mass sites that are holding these vaccines. And hey, guess what, you guys? Everybody 16 and older can now qualify for the vaccine, just so you guys know. So vaccine, COVID. And now that we have this immigration thing happening, oh, guess what I'm gonna do now? Like, bro, take care of the people here. Take care of the people that we have here. Like, on a local level, that's at least something that you can do. And on a local level, we as citizens have the ability to tell him something about it. You know what I mean? He hates me. I'm blocked from all of everything. He does not like me because I'm the squeaky wheel. And
because you actually try to hold him accountable for his office.
I still do whenever I get the chance and the ability to. And now I screenshot it just in case. I can't. I'm not the only one. There's so many good citizens in the city of Long Beach that not just that they agree with me, but we're all on the same page when it comes to how this city should be run. It's so Freudian slip. I almost said shitty, but it's pretty shitty. But yeah, so I mean, it's it's again tugging on the heartstrings. It's playing into that blind
Right.
spot. Look what we're doing.
Oh, yay. One for
Yeah,
the team. It's like those fantasy football type things. We're like, I'm participating.
right.
I win.
So exactly. And on the other end of that, it's like, well, shit. At us, it's like, well, if they're gonna be here, another thing at the rally that was brought up is absolute transparency. So people that were there at the rally did have good intentions, do have good intentions. They want absolute transparency. They want to be able to be in and out. Um, the media be able to be in and out and see what goes on in the facilities,
Mhm.
because apparently what's going on in Texas and on the border, across,
Right.
is not up to par. Well, it's not. Nothing's going to change. Taking them here by
Right.
they have the beach. That's it. That's the only thing. I like it just in front of a beach, but I don't know. But yeah, that's really all it is just tugging on emotions. And again, I mean, I'm coming at this with emotion because the emotion is I'm pissed. You know what I mean? So I get it. Excuse me. I understand. You know, being emotional and or passionate about something. I totally get that. When you feel you're being when anybody feels that that justice hasn't served them well, or um, that they're getting the shit end of the stick, and they're not being heard about it, that'll piss anybody off. And we're all in that boat right now, and on different ends of the spectrum, but we're all in that same boat. None of us feel like we're being heard. We all feel like we're being treated unfairly in one way, shape, or form. And and that's okay. And that's immediately what the media ties into. They play on those emotions. They play on the fact that we don't have good coping skills because we're so distracted with this and that and the other thing. We don't have time to cope with our feelings. And
Shove that down deep. Keep pushing.
right, right, and it helps. It helps to have a clear mind, and it's not easy, man. Everybody's on something. It doesn't really matter what it is. It could be sugar, coffee, weed, pills, whatever situation, alcohol. Everybody.
TV, shopping, like
Exactly.
whatever,
So
relationships, whatever it is. But
it does make it that much more tough. It's the drill that they need in the Comet and Armageddon. Like, we don't have that drill, the drill that's big enough to like get through
oh yeah,
to that meteor or whatever it was. Remember? That movie's so good. Remember?
yeah.
We don't
It's
have that drill. Like, it's just like it's not gonna go in. It's not gonna happen because we have all this other concrete stuff happening. So it's
we don't
understandable.
have the power.
Right, exactly. I could stay awake. I love that movie, man. But we can get there collectively. It's so hard to do it as an individual, but the more we're able to talk, the more we're able to, oh, what, oh, cool. The more we're able to do that about even on the smallest scale of things, the easier it'll be to talk about the bigger things
Right.
and actually talk like human beings about it. I wish I was at that rally, because while I'm not an abolished ICER or anything of that nature, but I can agree with people who want transparency and people who want,
Right.
hey, let's get some clothes together. What do we need? Soap, socks, shoes? What do these kids need?
Right.
To organize something like
Who
that,
drives like that? Yeah.
regardless of political stance. These people don't have to know that I supported Donald Trump, and I don't have to know whether they did either. It's not
Right.
about that anymore. It's really not about that anymore. At this point, what it should be about for every single one of us in every single situation, whether it be racism, gender, transphobia, homophobia, religious differences, political differences, that at the end of the day, we all have to understand that on some level, we're all on the same page, as far as we're pissed about something and we want things to change.
Right.
Everybody's pissed about something and we all want something to change. That's the common ground. Okay, so where do we go from there? Well, let's talk about what's pissing you off. Cool. Let's talk about what's pissing me off. Cool. How do we fix it? And we could just go from there. Not to suggest that things will be fixed right away, but it's a start. We, the people, it's a start.
We definitely have to like look and lean towards that way. If it's like a tug of war and we're constantly at odds, we're not going to get anywhere that way. And, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in a day or maybe even in our lifetimes, but that has to be like the trajectory the course that we're plotting
Right.
on, that we're working together and finding those commonalities and finding the workability, and then having our unique and independence and self-reliance beyond that, but so we don't even have to agree ultimately, and we're not going to, because we have completely different like backgrounds and needs and goals. But we just need to find, like, what do we agree on that people shouldn't be treated inhumanely. So let's muster together whatever excess energy we have to make sure that deficit is cared for, and finding the workability. So like, if people have whatever their opinion is and their upbringing and background is, it just needs to not impede on the workability of us being able to, like, go about our business and our livelihood throughout the city, and being able to, like, go to the store and all that kind of stuff and get our work done. As long as we have that workability relationally, like, we don't have to have the same ideals and opinions about everything. Like you said, they don't have to know who you voted for, and you don't need to know who they voted for. It's irrelevant at that point. But yeah, let's really address the true issues. Let's really find what the solutions are going to be that's going to put meet the needs of those people. They don't need to be shuffled from one center with inadequate living conditions to another.
Right.
With a beach view, maybe, but, like, yeah, let's get them. They need, soaps, toothbrushes, clothes, whatever. Like, and there's so much, waste and excess, like, sitting in people's closets, and there's ways that we could utilize our resources much more efficiently as a community, but they are isolating us into these causes and these categories of transx and the Asian hate and all these kinds of things, that instead of seeing, like, the common good of just making sure everybody has their livelihood met with the resources we have, and the comforts and accomplishments that you want beyond that, you can exert yourself to achieve them. But nobody should be treated inhumanely.
Right. Nobody should be treated no. Yeah. That's heavy stuff, man. Like, it's that's a big one. That's a big one for me. I kind of wish we didn't focus on it a lot, but I don't think we had a choice, man. Like, this is really happening. It's really happening here. Like, it's insane that something that's happening in an entire country is affecting my city, my neighborhood. Like,
right.
It's gotten that close, so it's not like 9/11, which again it's traumatic. It's traumatizes me till this day.
Right.
But it happened over there, not here.
Right.
This is happening here now, and it's gonna spread throughout the entire country. Like you said, we're gonna eventually. It's the land is huge. We're never gonna run out of space. Overpopulation is a thing. So you know what I mean. Like, it's not about that. It's not about overcrowding. It's about moving these people from place to place because they're gonna say there's overcrowding. It's about the dangers of losing people. It's not organized. We're gonna trust the government can't even run a DMV.
Right.
We're gonna think that they can move mass amounts of people without IDs and not lose people in the process. Get out of here with that.
Wow.
What's happening right now is 100% evil and dangerous. And it was given permission by the current administration.
Right.
That really should do something to us here. That really should bother us. And even if it does bother you, well, what am I going to do about it? Well, let's talk about it at least. Let's organize something. We got the recall Newsom thing going, California. And all of a sudden he's going to open June 15th. We win.
Say what?
That's funny, huh? Spoiled brats.
There's a caveat. You have to have your COVID pass, probably.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing we didn't talk about is the passport.
That part cracks me up, is that at the same time, there's been a lot of outrage over the Georgia voting laws, and, like, requiring, like, voter ID. And it's like, but you're going to require me to have an ID that I've been injected just to go into the grocery store to watch a movie.
Exactly.
But that's not prejudice, because everybody's going to have it. Everybody's going to have it.
Voter ID is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And in fact, I was watching this, I think it was a PragerU interview, but he interviewed a bunch of white people, and he's like, I think voter ID is pretty racist. And then he interviewed a bunch of black people, like, yeah, I got an ID. Yeah, I got an ID. So what? It's like, wait, wait, everybody has an ID. You have to have an ID no matter what you do. And so it just boggles my mind. Black people can't get an ID, so that's racist. Like, wait a minute, when can they not? When all of it, like, it's just, they can't afford it. First of all, an ID can be free. You just have to fill out a form.
Right.
So it's like, even that's not even an issue. I could have qualified for that and got my ID for free, but I was like, I pay the $15. You know, but so it's not impossible to get an ID.
Right.
And to suggest
you can get a savings account or a bank account or whatever, like
to suggest that a certain people, a certain race is too dumb or too poor or too this to not be able to get a very common thing that everybody has in any country, no matter where you are. It's like, it's sad. Stop putting, look, white saviors, stop putting your thumb over Black people. They don't want it there anymore. The jig is up. And the ones that do are the ones that aren't doing anything with themselves and insist that it's everybody else's fault. And that doesn't just go for Black people, that goes for anybody else who wants to cry and bitch that they're oppressed. Okay? It's just either that, get the thumb off your back. Get the thumb off your back, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have time for this anymore. You know what I mean?
Or otherwise, like, fix the ID system to get an ID. Like, maybe don't charge $15 for everybody, because, like, why pinch pennies that way? Like, why the cash grab? You know, like, just make it really, like, streamlined to get an ID and then require it if somebody's going to cast their. I mean, it is, but, like, why doesn't if the focus is like, oh, the computer and the this and the money and whatever the like impedance is from them getting the ID, like, resolve that, not the instances where you'll need to use the ID.
Right.
You should require it here.
Yeah, you need it for literally just about everything. And it's just that is the funniest thing to me. That is just the funniest thing to me. And then here come the COVID passports. Like, if I already have had a friend tell me, dude, I got to hook up on fake COVID passports. Cool. I mean,
let's keep you on the
even fake IDs are a thing, you know what I mean? So even if you can't get a real ID, you can get a fake ID. If I can already get a fake COVID passport, you can get a fake ID. So I mean, it's just hilarious. Like, that whole thing's funny. It's like you said, excuse me, they're constantly just trying to throw things at us all the damn time about this and that, and be mad about this, be mad about that, be mad about this. How about we be mad about, like, human lives being lost at a rapid rate?
Right.
On one side of the world, and now almost officially on this side of the world. It's gonna be a very upsetting thing when we start to see numbers of people dying in droves and or getting lost in droves, number wise. Because that's gonna be next. And that's not a prediction, the way we predicted mass shootings or whatever. It's just gonna be what's next. It's gonna be what's gonna happen. 5,000 unaccounted for children, 5,000 unaccounted for. That's next. Just wait. And that's not going to be enough to piss you off. I don't care, do you? Damn, that sucks. It really drives me crazy that, and again, I think it drives me crazy the most because I am one person and I can't go over and do anything about it. That does drive me a little bit crazy. And so, that being said, I understand other people's passions and emotions and the BLM movement. I can even understand that anger. It's misinformed and was very misdirected, but I still get it. I wish I can do the same. I wish I can go to those facilities and come with me, children. I get it. But
it's like those Justice League type scenes where they have Batman where, like, you have to save your beloved or the city, and you can only choose one. And you're like, oh, my family, I have to work, but the children.
Exactly, yeah.
And and they have us all going through these stages of grief where some people are in denial, some people are, like, angry about it, some people are in the bargaining stage of, like, but what if we do this, and you're right. Like it's only a matter of time from the trajectory of where these things are going for there to be like groups of missing children. But don't worry, because we'll have the results of the George Floyd trial or whatever to steal the headlines by then, so we can all mourn still for this one man while thousands of children go unaccounted for.
Right. Exactly. America loves martyrs.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah.
We all want to be one for some reason. And I guess the only thing I can think of it is we're always trying to blame somebody else, you know, and because it's easier that way. Life's easier that way. You know, I think people are still blaming Trump for this thing happening now.
Yeah. They still have to talk about him.
That horse is dead. You know what I mean? We're being like,
resuscitated and then destroyed again.
So it's just it's yeah, a lot of the same hubbub. So yeah, I mean, this wasn't necessarily an update episode, but more of like a rant event.
No, it really grinds my gears.
Yeah, it was a grind my gears episode for sure. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah,
You're bound to have these.
What's next? What do you think? What's going on? What's next?
What's playing out? Well, the thing that I hold in mind is 2030 for their agenda. So, you know, like people, you know, were like Paul revering for during Obama's whole administration of the gun control and there was a lot of big incidences then, and we had the swine flu and all, you know, so in some sense it's all the same old, and it just takes us doing the same pushback we did back then. We just got to keep that up and eventually like stop the tug of war of, you know, like not letting them build to this again, not falling for it anymore. You know, it's funny because like you said, we can't call things a false flag, but at some point, you know, like when by having personal conversations, maybe we can start having that conversation on the larger scale of just like, media, you're not getting us anymore. Like we realize like that's just your stories, and that, yeah, people are dying, but they're dying in a myriad of ways. And you know, we just need to all be solution oriented individually and communally with our immediate like groups of friends and family and community around us, and then as a nation that we are in this together.
Right, exactly. It's so crazy because, you know, we can you know, we've touched on this in past casts, and Miss Cully is practically my sensei when it comes to this, but words, you know, they cast spells, and they have their own way of putting things out there. But it's interesting that the same phrases and the same things that we see Joe Biden say and the government and, you know, the whole my whole twirling they are true. We are in this together. And it's like, you know, it's something about the way they say it somehow disbands us as opposed to unites us.
Right.
I just don't understand how it works that we build back better. Like even that alone could be something that's so positive, and yet somehow it's so decisive. And it's interesting. It's interesting to see those things. And yeah, it's just it's all a matter of what we pay attention to. And they have us so busy paying attention to everything, we're not really seeing anything at all. And that's the blind spot, I think. You know, we have so much to look at that there's, and it includes Netflix and everything too, you know, WandaVision and everything that trends, and, you know, the TV show. I don't know what the latest one is. That was the last one I've heard of that's been like a big deal, was the WandaVision one. That was a few weeks ago. You know, it's been a while. But
yeah, I don't know what shows the big
me neither.
Right now.
No clue.
Bridgerton is getting recast, I think.
The last thing I heard was the Little Nas X Satan Shoes thing was the last thing I've heard. I was, you know, so it's like, you know, and that was like a week ago or something. But yeah. Oh, I saw this picture of him as, you know, the Pied Piper, and he has children behind him. It was creepy. I'll send it to you. But yeah, it was creepy. Sidebar. Yeah, I think we should. I think I'm good with wrapping it up. If you are, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think that was, a great chat, and it's kind of just like a blanket view of where everything's at, and that it's gonna, like we can see what the goal is. And so if we continue to put things into that context and not get whipped up into our emotions and anger, and just stay vigilant, like we keep repeating each cast. And yeah, I love the way you put things and how you draw our attention to these things and can see how it's happening in our backyard in Long Beach, and how we can get involved.
Right.
Participate
And
in it.
anybody has any ideas or wants to donate, we can make it happen. There's so many people in the community that are already jumping the gun and like, hey man, if they're coming here, we might as well help.
Right.
So anybody's watching that wants to help out or wants information on how to help out or has ideas on how to help out, hit us up and let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
let's coordinate that. Let's get it going.
Yeah, hell yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
But yeah, just again, like Miss Kelly just said, stay vigilant and stay focused, and probably most importantly right now, stay calm. Stay calm. And I'm talking to myself here, but
keep it zen.
keep it zen. The summer's going to be very interesting. Again, prepare for
it's going to be a hot summer, Biden's predicting. or it's going to be a bright summer.
There's something on Instagram trending right now called white boy summer, and those memes are so funny. The last one I saw today, Prince Philip passed away this morning, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
It was his ugly, decrepit face, and it said, "White boy summer going to hit different this year."
So soon.
Yeah, too soon. Oh man, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting summer. Stay, take cover and stay. Things will be playing out. But as a whole, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be a-okay. I'm just saying. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Miss Khalid, thank you so much for having this chat with me. I've missed you so much. I miss you so much all the time now.
Miss your musk.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much again. I've been your host, Miss 2DO. If you guys have the time and you got them stimmies going, patreon.com/offthemarkcast. We would love some donations because I need some new equipment. My shit's falling apart. Also gas money. All right. Well, again, I've been 2DO. Stay vigilant, stay focused, and we love you guys.
Okay.